It wasn't a birthday present. Prove to me it wasn't a birthday present.
Judge Judy.
Justice wasn't served.
And we're interrupting programming this afternoon for an update on the Carr fire. Community members and officials are gathering right now in Weaverville for a community meeting. And let's go to that now.
Because it is an evacuated zone and we don't want any looting going on. So I'll be here after everybody has spoken and for questions and answers. Next, we have a representative from Red Cross.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Ree. I'm the Executive Director for the American Red Cross for the 14 counties north of SAC. I just want to take a second to reflect on you all. This is the second major evacuation that you've had to do in the calendar year. I believe the Helena fire was a big one. There's a lot of damage and loss with that, and here we are again. So just hats off to you as a community, having come together in support of one another. Let's see, so with the Carr fire, the Red Cross is currently operating 5 shelters. We started off with Weaverville Elementary here in Weaverville. We have 4 shelters open in Shasta County. We remain here with 1 shelter at Trinity High. Numbers have ticked up a little bit there in the last couple of days. I think our current shelter, I think last night we had 56 overnight stays there. The services we're providing there, we're feeding folks, we're providing them a safe, comfortable place to sleep. When I give shelter numbers, that's what we call heads on beds. That's a really kind of gross way to say it, but that's folks that are actually staying inside. We also have folks staying in tents and staying, they don't want to separate from their animals that are staying in parking lots and things like that, coming in for services. We are replacing pharmaceuticals. We are providing health care and mental health care. And I want to reinforce that the American Red Cross is very much still in response mode. Fire behavior is hard and fast as CAL FIRE is working. It's an unpredictable thing, so we're staying in response mode and poised and ready to respond, but we're also simultaneously embracing the recovery. So we'll be working with our county partners in Trinity to support a LAC. We will be soon doing mobile distributions of emergency supplies. So we have these kind of prepackaged wildfire kits that have leather gloves and tarps and brooms and trowels and kind of some of the stuff that folks are going to need as they're getting entry back into their homes. Also, I want to reinforce that with the LAC, there's a perception out there that if you're not one of our heads on beds, you're not, the services that the American Red Cross provides are not available. I want to confirm that that's not the case. We are working like hell to raise money to get you folks back in your homes. We do financial assistance during the recovery effort. If you suffered major loss, please come and open a case file with the American Red Cross for the 2017 fires. For the Thomas fire and the Sonoma County fires, we were able to give financial assistance to 7,000 folks. So please don't consider yourselves not able to get that. Please come and open a case file with the American Red Cross, either at the LAC or give my office a call. Thanks.
Next, we have a representative from Trinity Public Utilities.
Paul Hooser, I'm the General Manager for Trinity Public Utilities District. I'd like to start by thanking you for your patience and understanding with the outages you've experienced. A lot of them quite lengthy since, I guess, Friday afternoon when we had the first outage. I wanted to give a little rundown or explanation of why the outages and how the outages occurred. There is a perception from a lot of folks, it's kind of understandable, that our power comes from Trinity Power Plant. but that's not technically correct. While there's a lot of power generated at the hydro unit there at the base of the dam, we are dependent on power from high voltage transmission lines that come over the hill from Carr Powerhouse, at the head of Whiskey Town. They go over to Keswick Yard, but we basically tie into the high voltage transmission grid over in the valley. The first outage, and most lengthy, was caused from heavy smoke under a high voltage transmission line. That smoke can actually cause extremely high voltage transmission lines to arc. It relayed that line, and it knocked out the power supply from Trinity Powerhouse. Trinity Powerhouse had never been black started before. That's a term where you can start a power plant without having outside grid power. Trinity was never designed to do that, but personnel from the Bureau of Reclamation and the Western Area Power Administration worked really hard to bring a portable generator in, a large portable generator in, to supply the station service that was necessary to get that power plant back online. After that lengthy outage, my employees were working really hard. We had to bring load up in very small blocks because we didn't have the grid resiliency there. We were dependent on the one power line, or one power plant rather. And it was a tenuous situation even after we got power back up because, again, the unit was never designed to run in isolation, and basically that's what we were doing. When the power plant operators had to evacuate the plant because of the evacuation notice issued for Lewiston, that left the plant unmanned with anybody to manage that standby generator that the plant was totally dependent on. And the generator was slightly undersized. As it got overloaded, it shut down, the plant tripped off. And as you obviously experienced, we had multiple episodes where we got the plant back up and running again. So I'm happy to report now that the high voltage transmission lines that we are normally supplied from, they have been restored. Wow. So while Trinity Power Plant is up and running, and I'm told through Western Area Power Administration and the fire folks that the fire activity under those lines is pretty much gone now, so we don't anticipate a threat to those power lines. So that was the good news. But I do want to explain to the group the potential jeopardy that we still have from the fire, and I'm going to try to use my pointer, and I don't know how steady I'm going to be, but this location here is approximately where the Trinity Power Plant substation is, and those high voltage lines tie into there. The line that comes over and serves most of Trinity County, Lewiston, is basically served out of this same area. But that line runs down this side of Lewiston Lake, behind the hatchery, crosses the Trinity River, and heads over towards Weaverville. There's actually it's a 60,000 volt line, and that line supplies substations that serve Weaverville out of Mill Street, Douglas City, and Haytor. So the jeopardy I wanted to point out is if this fire gets down into this area and burns this line, and it is on wood poles, that would be the worst case scenario. We have had discussions already with Pacific Gas and Electric about potentially hooking up to their 60 kV line that's right in the middle of Weaverville here, outside our Mill Street substation. We're going to continue to have those discussions as a contingency just in case this happens. But for the time being, if the fire doesn't get into Lewiston, our power situation should be much better.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a representative from Health and Human Services and OES.
Good afternoon. I'm Garza, Director of HHS and OES. First of all, I'd like to just cover our Health and Human Services to you. I do want to let everybody know that our adult services programs are really concerned about our elderly population. So we really would appreciate if you have any type of neighborhood watch to please look up your elderly neighbors. And if you have any concerns of anyone, please call our adult services office at Health and Human Services. Same thing goes for our child welfare program. We are definitely concerned of a lot of our children that are placed in Shasta County in foster care, so we have a high level of oversight for that to ensure that they are safe, and if they've been displaced, we will track them down to make sure they're doing okay. Our public health has been extremely busy. We have a shortage of staff in Trinity County, so it was a challenge to provide the nursing support to the Red Cross shelter until we had additional supportive nursing thanks to the Red Cross. So I just wanted to mention that as of this time, we do have some nursing support, and public health is a huge concern for us, so we wanted to make sure you are aware that that is a priority for us. We are working with environmental health to ensure that the air quality is being tracked. We have a way of tracking the particulates in the air in case we do need to open up a clean air center. If we do open up a clean air center, we will be posting that in all of our sources of public information outreach. And lately we've been using a lot of website services, the public information board that you've been seeing around town, as well as, any way we can get information to you, we're doing our best to do that. Let's see. We're also working with behavioral health to ensure we are providing that type of services for emotional support. We do recognize this is one of a very difficult time, just as many of you have experienced that through the Helena fire. Now moving on to our Office of Emergency Services, we have activated our Emergency Operations Center. And what that means is we have fully staffed the different functions that covers all areas of planning, logistics, operations, and we work very closely with the Sheriff's Office, with the Road Department, every functional service we can to ensure that we have all the information organized and coordinated so that we are informed, so we can inform you. I do want to encourage all of you, being that this is a very stressful time, to develop some type of way of keeping in touch with you and yourself and your family, as far as if we have any other types of advisory evacuations, to please be aware of where everyone is. Again, we did want to just remind everyone, when there is an advisory evacuation, that is just to inform you, just to be prepared. It does not mean to evacuate. Of course, any action you take is your decision, but it's more about being prepared. So advisory means being prepared, and of course, being in touch with your loved ones. It was mentioned earlier, if we do decide to open up a local assistance center, we will be informing you in all of our efforts of information, like I mentioned earlier. I'm sure many of you, if you don't have it already, I hope you do, is our Code Red system, which is a free app that you can download into your cell phones. It also activates, if any of you have landline, to inform you of any alerts that we need to bring to your area. It is a cell phone-based system, so depending on where you are in the county, you will get the Code Red. If you do not have Code Red, there are flyers in the lobby that will inform you on how to download that free app, so please get that information if you don't have it already. We're fortunate in our Emergency Operations Center. We have representatives from the Incident Management Team in Shasta County. We have a liaison who does an excellent job of keeping us up to date with all of the updates that are happening in the incident command in Shasta County. We also have our own Public Information Officer who does an excellent job in guiding us to ensure that we are reaching out to all areas in the county to provide the information that you need. So other than that, I did want to mention, I didn't want to forget, we partner very well with Human Response Network. We wanted me to share with you that they are providing gas vouchers to those of you who have been evacuated. If you need gas vouchers, please contact Human Response Network. Let's see. I think that is everything at this time. So thank you, and please be safe.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. So now we have time for a few questions. Are there any questions out there?
I'd like to know how close it is to Lewiston and what your manpower is actively fighting the fire right now.
The question is how close is it to Lewiston, and what's the manpower in that area?
So our control strategy was to try to hold the fire on County Line Road. We knew it hit it hard in a few places and we'd get some slop overs, but we figured on the backside of the ridge, we'd have slope in our favor and we could pick that up. The other night when we had to do evacuations, that fire hit the ridge hard at night. And as most of you may or may not know, that's when we've been getting our tails kicked at night. The winds are coming up and we're seeing some very erratic fire behavior. The other night it kind of held where it hit many places. We were feeling really good, and the winds came up. We had a few places hit super hard. It came over the ridge, and it got up at the crown of the timber and ran down the mountain towards Lewiston Lake. So I can tell you, our guys had some activity in there yesterday where they picked up anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 acres lateral of Lewiston Lake, of County Line Road. See if I can make this thing work. Up here, right in this area here, is where County Line Road comes through here. Right here where these dots are, that's County Line Road. This is the slop over I'm talking about. So we're making very good progress on it. Our goal is to keep it, as you heard your PUD director talk about, our goal is to keep it away from the lake, away from the power lines, the infrastructure, all those things. We're making very good progress on it. But as most of you might know, if you've been up in that country, a lot of heavy fuels. A lot of heavy, old timber, decadent timber with a lot of heavy jungle underneath it, heavy other undergrowth underneath it. We got a lot of work to do in there. That doesn't mean it's going to be forever. The folks are in there beating it hard. First and foremost, to get lines on all of it, and then to get it cooled out. Because, again, we could have another event that gets that thing up on us again. And what we've been experiencing throughout this whole fire is we get control lines on the fire, which normally that's good, we're working it. But then those conditions change, the smoke inversion lifts on us, and that makes it all bad. And then things jump up in the crown of the timber, interior of the burn, and throw spot fires right over the top of us. And things just, like I said, we're seeing fire behavior that typically you would see in October. And it's only July. So does that answer your question?
Go ahead, right here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering where it says Division D, the county line goes in that area, did it go over the hospitals in that area?
The question is on Division D, did it go over the line on County Line Road?
So yes, and that we expected it to. Like I said, it's hard to hold a road in those types of fuels. So our ops folks came to me before it even got to County Line Road and expected that it's going to hit that road, but we should be able to pick those slop overs up if we're prepared. Like I said, it happened in both areas, and we were much more successful down in here. It did slop over. Obviously, our concern is that it's going to get down into Grass Valley Creek and create some issues, right? Everybody knows the country over there. It did slop. We've been successful at getting around all that and not having the significant problem that we've been having up here off the County Line Road on the north end of 299.
Go ahead, right here.
So, Rain County right now at Loudon Park with all the large animals, and we're having a really hard time trying to find out what's going on with our phones and stuff like that. Is there a way that we can get an update on a normal basis, even with our cell phones? We're not able to see what's going on, and families out here are wanting to know what's going on, and if it's finding out.
Okay, so as one information officer myself, I can speak to that, and that's a very good question. Information is extremely important. So we have there's a few different ways we can get information. You can check our website to get information, but if you want to talk to a real person, we also have an information line. You can also call 211 as well. And I think Charles is going to go ahead and put that number up there right now. So that's our information line. So if you want to write that down or now, you can take that. And it's also all over our social media and on our website as well. All right, thank you very much.
Go ahead, you right there.
I just wanted to clarify, Trinity County does not have 211 at this time. That is something we are working on through our OES department. So we do not have 211. I am aware that the evacuation shelter has a TIO update, the shelter that we use at 1 o'clock every day. So I just want to mention that as well.
Go ahead.
I have seen on some of the television reports out of Shasta County, some of the objectives were to keep the fire east of Deer Lick Springs to Highway 3, which is where I live. So, what is that? Is part of this section, I think C, between C and D there, and you briefly talk about it, and I never hear about it in any of the reports, and you're actively limited. What is happening more down there, and is that fire progressing more towards Douglas City? Douglas City.
So as the commander was saying, that fire has slopped over, and when we put those control objectives out, those are to kind of identify for everyone on the resource or on the incident the leader's intent. And it gives us an opportunity to get those folks out there and give the objective of where the future of this thing might be. And we obviously don't want to be in the position where we have to change those objectives on a daily basis. So we give ourselves a little bit of time and we put those out there. And then that would be like the big box, right? And then we have interior plans and operations to tie that fire in closer, and then we can start bringing those further out control objectives in. So we are over the county line road in multiple places, but we have folks in there that are putting in lots of line. I was starting to count up resources. Someone had asked that earlier, and we are upwards of 30 engines and 15 bulldozers in that area. So all of that is heavily staffed. It's just trying to get through that fuel and then burn it in with enough time that we can deal with the weather as it changes daily.
The phone number you had earlier was not functioning today.
Okay, can you please ask that again?
The phone number that you showed just a moment ago was not functioning today.
The phone number that you showed earlier was not functioning today.
Okay, so we'll talk to you after this is done one-on-one if you'd like to make sure you have the right number. Okay, we'll look into that. The alternative to that is to either call the media line, which is on all of our information, either online or on the Troutland boards, and also you can call 211 as well.
We'd like to speak to the 211. 211 Shasta will give you all the fire information for the Carr fire, both Trinity and Shasta County. They don't have 211 in Trinity County, but if you call 211 information for this fire, I don't draw a line for information on Trinity County line, so they have it all at 211 Shasta.
Go ahead, sir. The question is those that are here in Weaverville, where would they evacuate if they need to?
Sheriff, can you speak to that?
Junction City, it burned last year.
All right, so my name is Under Sheriff Christopher Thompson here in Trinity County. The question was, where are we going to go if we have to evacuate here? That's a really good question. It depends on what happens, right? So if it comes down 299 and cuts off access to Hayfork, we have to adjust, right? If it comes over through the north and blocks Highway 3, we have to adjust. So we're getting plans in place for all of those scenarios. And what I can promise you is that if it gets to that point, I will absolutely let you know which way to go. Because right at this point, there's different ways. So the idea is if we can go 3 to 36 and down, we'll do that. But it would all depend on what this fire is doing. Like they said, it's erratic behavior. So what I don't want to do is tell you, go here, and then you drive down the road and you're like, there's fire. You didn't know what he's talking about. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you we have multiple different routes in place, and as that fire plays out, we'll get it out to you of where we want you to go. And we're going to give you enough time to where it's not 3,800 people in the long Congo line, and the first person you reach and the other one's here. We're not going to do that either.
Go ahead, right here.
No, I'm saying if it does. Anyway, all the roads to Highway 3 North and South Road. It's my understanding still 36 is open, and so is 299 West. So those are all open. It's just all of my contingency plans are based on if those are closed at that time when we get that open.
Okay, we have time for about 2 more questions, and then command staff can get back to what they're doing. And we have public information officers here that can assist with some of these questions. Ma'am?
I found out so long yesterday well, we were never told we were on mandatory evacuation, which evidently occurred the night before when the power went out. I'm sorry. But why weren't we told? Why didn't somebody drive out there? Was we not back?
Where do you live?
I'm the city. There's nothing but fuel around.
Where in the city?
You're in Springs.
Really Springs in the city. You're not under mandatory evacuation. Never happened. No.
They wouldn't even let anybody come in or in our area. They were trying to come in. And they said,
I'm going to pass this off to somebody who can talk about that, of the reason why there was a miscommunication on what, I'll just let him talk about it. I'll round this up real quick. The road closure, the evacuation area the first night to Douglas City. The road closure was east of Highway 3. East of Highway 3. Anything beyond Highway 3 was not evacuated. And then as you saw yesterday, we did good on the fire. We were very aggressive with that distance. We were good on we were making progress on the fire. It wasn't up and running on the south side of 299, like I said, along County Line Road. So we tightened that back up to Poker Bar Road. We're going to continue to do that. We're trying not to keep you out of areas unnecessarily.
what about Rush Creek Road? Why is there a mandatory evacuation, but there's no information about why?
The reason why is because of the fire coming off the hill down into Lewiston Lake and Trinity Lake.
Okay, that's not Rush Creek.
Rush Creek's on the backside of Lewiston.
West side.
Wait.
I understand.
From our own people. So I'm just going to put it out there. They need to get back in that tent and work that out. Because we're all out here talking up a storm and getting each other all worked up, and nobody has an answer.
Right. So again, we've been sitting liaison officers embedded in the evacuation center. We have a PIO in there. And I can tell you that Trinity County SO, your PUD folks, all of them are part of that working group. They had just been brought in, right? We just did this the other night. So everybody's brought into that process now. And it does take a little reflex time, and again, I appreciate your patience, but we will get better at that. We are catching up to it. But my goal is that we don't get the fire there at all. Okay? And I feel very optimistic about that right now. But I can't bet on it, right? So, again, I don't want to get worked up over things that we're trying very hard to keep it from happening. And we could sit here and what if it all night long, but I think nobody in here would like to do that.
Preventative maintenance is what I'd like to address, and one of them is cell phone reception. The cell phone reception all the way up and down 299 from Reading to Eureka was present. A lot of this would even be taking place. And another one is grass along the roads, all along the roads. If everybody here had a weed eater and cut 10 feet of grass, we may not be addressing this right now. It seems to me why. Dragging their chains all the time.
Thank you very much. We understand it's a frustrating time. So this concludes the meeting. Our command staff needs to get back to help mitigate the incident. If you can stick around, we have perfect information. Thank you so much.
doing a good job of helping. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. When guys able to actually air any of that? I know it was very shaky. I wasn't able to find a flat surface. Okay. I just heard steady breathing, if that's what we're doing. Alright, people are clearing out now, so just go ahead and if you'd like to move, and then like what to do next, and just make it people, I work Friday.
And that was the community meeting in Weaverville. Tonight we will check back in with Trevor Fay, who is there. Now we turn our focus to Shasta County. Well, tonight we go out to Mary Lake as those homeowners await their turn to find out if their homes are still standing. And the California National Guard saying they're in this firefight for the long haul. And as some start to return back into their neighborhoods to find their home damaged or destroyed, the long road to recovery begins. And you're watching KRCR News Channel 7 at 5. And good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Allison Woods. Tonight, the Carr fire has burned 110,154 acres and is 27% contained. Now, as many people are being let back into their homes, we go to Mary Lake, where Jeremy Harris is among the still vacant homes as those homeowners await their turn to find out if their homes are still standing. And plenty of people do not know that as they're being let back into their neighborhoods. They're still wondering if their home is still there. Jeremy is out there. He's been out in Mary Lake all day looking and going through the neighborhoods to see what is left. We should have Jeremy up live here pretty soon, and we'll go back out to him. And we're going to come back to him here in just a second. Like I said, he was out in Mary Lake all day looking at the damage left behind from the fire. And, you know, many people don't know the condition of their home. So for now, we're going to go to Jeff Andrews, who is in the Weather Center, and then we'll come back to Jeremy. Jeff.
Good evening, Allison. Here's a look at our temperatures right now. The smoke haze kind of held some of the highs back for some of the areas. Now, Hayfork, Weaverville, typically, you know, we wouldn't see temperatures comparable to the Valley, but they had sunshine today. Valley right now, 101 for Redding, 100 Red Bluff, Corning at 98, 91 Shingletown, 95 for Alturas, 94 Chester right now. Here's the latest look at the GO 16 satellite. I zoomed in so you get a pretty good idea of the heat signatures. From the Carr fire, there are actually 3 of them. And I'm kind of checking into it. I think the intentional burns may play into this at all. That's just a speculation. Storm tracker right now, I chose a black and white image here so you can kind of see the haze as well as the cloud cover. Now the milky white here in the valley, it's pretty, you know, a lot of haze and smoke. And you can see the clouds moving from the southwest to the northeast. I expect by maybe Friday afternoon, we'll start seeing better conditions as far as the air quality. We have a red flag warning. It's for the area in red. That's Modoc County. That's 2 till 11 tomorrow afternoon. Storm tracker right now is showing mainly clear skies for us as far as cloud cover. But let me step over here and you can take a better shot at the thunderstorms and stuff. That's over the southern part of Nevada. Now, we don't expect that to really affect us at all. This is monsoon moisture being pulled in by the high pressure system. It will give us a little more cloud cover, though. Now, let's take a look at our air quality index for the area. Redding and Red Bluff are in the red. That is the unhealthy category. Like I said, by Friday afternoon, maybe, we'll see better conditions. Chico in the orange, that's unhealthy for sensitive groups. Now, I really would encourage you to avoid prolonged activity outside today. I didn't see a lot of people jogging, and I thought to myself, smart. Now, as far as the visibility, we see the hazy conditions in the valley. This is not ideal. A couple more hours, maybe a flight time to attack the fires from the air. And I'd like to see a little more visibility. They need at least 3 miles. Reading at 3 miles, 5 for Red Bluff, Chico for 4, and by Friday should see better conditions though. Allison, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff, for that. Well, just into our newsroom this evening, 2 previous boil water notices have now been canceled. Centerville and Clear Creek CSD customers do not have to boil their water anymore. Personnel with the Division of Drinking Water visited the water treatment plant this morning and say the water is safe to drink. Now, crews are working very hard on the northwestern portion of the fire. They're putting in containment lines to prevent the spread of the fire any further into Trinity County and the town of Lewiston. Well, tonight there was a community meeting in Weaverville, which we just had, and we carried it live on our Facebook page as well. KRCR News Channel 7's Trevor Fay is there, and we'll have more coming up tonight at 6:30. And the Shasta District Fairgrounds in Anderson is also serving as a military base during this firefight. KRCR News Channel 7's Courtney Kreider brings us how soldiers are working hand in hand with local authorities and firefighters.
Men and women serving our country, now serving Shasta County in what's been one of the most destructive and devastating fires in the North State. Soldiers gear up as they would for any mission. The level of destruction similar to a war zone.
It really looks like something from another world. I mean, it's very surreal. We kind of liken it to some of the devastation you see overseas in other countries. And you're just not used to seeing that here in the United States.
Battalion Commander Andrew Hansen is of the 49th Military Brigade. From Pittsburgh, Sacramento, and Chico, these soldiers form Task Force 185 of the California National Guard. A sign of relief for the overwhelmed local law enforcement, a sense of security for the community.
They'll come up to our checkpoints and they'll talk to our soldiers there. And we try to make them feel as comfortable as possible and let them know things will be okay, and we're here to help support them, and we're here as long as we're needed.
Commander Hansen says his soldiers are getting used to being away from their families during these unheard and taxing wildfire seasons.
The past few wildfires we've been on, it's been the same kind of scene. It's unfortunate that it's becoming somewhat normal now.
Referring to CAL FIRE's new normal, the National Guard says they don't expect this type of response to end anytime soon. It's only a matter of time before another part of California needs their help. For now, this convoy is bunkered down in Shasta County to see this mission through. Reporting on the Carr fire in Redding, Courtney Kreider.
Are being let back into their homes. We're going to go back out to Mary Lake, where Jeremy Harris is among the still vacant homes as those homeowners await their turn to find out if their homes are still standing. Jeremy, what do you see out there?
Yeah, and at this point, a lot of the homeowners are still waiting to come back into the Mary Lake area. What we can show you is this is one of many homes here in Mary Lake that have been destroyed. You can see from the strength of that fire, everything is melted. It went right through this house. This is right on Kilkee Drive here in Mary Lake. Now, you'll be able to see that. If we look just a little farther down, though, you can see the next door neighbor's house appears to be untouched or have very minor damage from this fire. That likely indicating where the firefighters were, and their efforts were obviously able to pay off in saving the next door neighbor's house. From what we could count here on Kilkee Drive, there were about 8 or 9 homes that were destroyed. Other homes in this same area were also damaged. Likely a lot of that coming from some of those spot fires. We also talked to some homeowners here in the Mary Lake subdivision that chose not to evacuate. They decided that they were going to wait it out, and we have more about from what they had to say and their experience of being here over the last several days as part of this fire. We'll have more about that coming up at 5:30, but for right now, a lot of homeowners waiting to come back into this subdivision. We'll have more on the situation here coming up. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. Now, he was in the Mary Lake area. Now, here's the latest information tonight from CAL FIRE. Just within the last few minutes, we learned that evacuation orders have been lifted in the Montgomery Ranch area. Evacuation orders have also been lifted in the Happy Valley area, as well as in the communities of Summit City and Buckeye. Mandatory evacuations are still in effect for the communities of Igo and Ono. Now, here are some more of the lifted evacuations. Lake Boulevard, north of Oasis Road to the Shasta Dam, Pine Grove Avenue west from Iron Horse Road to Lake Boulevard, Walker Mine Road to the overhead power lines. Now, it's important to note all residences on Walker Mine Road west of the overhead power lines remain under mandatory evacuations. Courts Hill Road from Lake Boulevard to just west of Counter Lane. A closure will stay in place at Courts Hill Road west of Counter Lane. Now, all homes west of this closure point will remain under mandatory evacuations. Firefighters are asking everyone to limit these areas to residents so they can get back into their homes. Now, there are still many areas impacted by the Carr fire that are without power. Hundreds of utility workers working hard, fixing power lines and restoring power to houses that are still standing. That's coming up. And it's a long road to recovery for those whose homes were damaged and destroyed. Today, KRCR News Channel 7's Megan Mackey went out to the Catastrophe Claims Operations Center at Shasta College to find out the next steps for fire victims. That's coming up after the break.
You're watching.
Not everybody's the three of us.
Hot
bench. And welcome back. The Carr fire took hundreds of homes in its path, and many more still remain threatened. CAL FIRE says 2,546 structures are threatened. 884 homes, 4 commercial structures, and 348 outbuildings have been destroyed. 169 residences, 5 commercial structures, and 51 outbuildings have been damaged. All right, with hundreds of homes destroyed, many people are wondering what comes next. A catastrophe claims operations center was set up at Shasta College to help people through the process of getting back on their feet. KRCR News Channel 7's Megan Mackey joins us live on Harlan Drive. Megan.
Allison, I spoke with Allstate Insurance today, and they're telling me that they're dealing with a lot of losses. Now, I'm currently standing on Harlan Drive in Reading, and as you can see behind me, this garage seems to be the only thing left standing at this home. Now, the devastation is apparent here in Lake Reading, where there's going to be a strong need for recovery efforts.
We were able to alleviate the stress of knowing what we're going to do for food, shelter.
When Foster got the news he had to evacuate his home, he called his insurance company to learn about the services that were covered through his policy. To his surprise, Allstate directly deposited money into his account after he filed a claim to assist him and his family with food, shelter, and fuel costs as they were under mandatory evacuation orders.
Because if people are leaving the house with just a clothes on their back, they might need money up front to kind of get them started at a hotel, and for all the dining out, they'll likely be doing it because they can't cook anymore.
Right now, Allstate says they are focusing on evacuation catastrophe efforts, but as repopulation starts to occur, they will be able to assess structure and property damages and help customers through that process.
I'm more afraid of, looters, people sneaking in the back way, the crime that's going to happen in those areas.
But Allstate says there is no need to worry. Whether your home is demolished or still standing, their policy covers vandalism and theft in the unfortunate event that your property was victimized by looters. Hello.
All right, so that was Megan Mackey reporting out there, and she also said that several other insurance companies were also there today, and they say they will be assisting with the efforts to recover these damaged communities.
Or keeping an eye on the weather, obviously, as far as the winds, tracking the winds as far as the humidity, as well as the movement of the smoke and such. We're also tracking a cooling trend as well. We'll talk more about that when we come back after the break.
You're watching KRCR News Channel 7 live.
KRCR News Channel 7 on Fox 20. Our goal is to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information.
A lot can happen in just a few hours, and we're here to report what's happening, new developments, and what you can expect. KRCR News Channel 7 on Fox 20 at 10.
Oh my God!
Coming up, this horrifying experience as a woman and her child tried to escape along with dozens of others.
I feel stronger.
Small changes you make today can make a big difference in how you
Estate Advisors. Your home sold.
A place that entertains, uplifts, and inspires.
Welcome back. We have new information on postal services. In the city of Shasta Lake, mail service is back to normal in areas that are not evacuated. If you're still evacuating, cannot get to the Shasta Lake post office, you can go pick up your mail at the counter. And meanwhile, 3 other post offices remain temporarily closed. Those are on French Gulch, Shasta, and Igo. French Gulch, Shasta, and people who live in the 96001 zip code can pick up their mail at the Reading downtown post office. Igo customers can pick up their mail at the Reading main post office. Well, some of those who are being allowed back into their neighborhoods may find their power or gas has not yet been restored. KRCR News Channel 7's Jerry O'Lennon spent the day at one of the areas hit hardest by the Carr fire, where utility crews are working to restore power. Quartz Hill and Keswick Dam Boulevard was where some of those absolute work destruction happened. And here's Jerry with more.
That's right. Hundreds of workers from PG&E and Reading Electric are in this location, restoring power where they can. The randomness of the Carr fire. One house destroyed, others a few feet away sitting untouched by the flames. But even those have been without power. 734 PG&E employees and contractors began fixing power lines and restoring power to houses still standing.
As CAL FIRE lifts the evacuation orders, is we'll be able to restore service to those customers. Unfortunately, there's some customers whose homes have been destroyed. So we'll make it safe first. We'll make sure that our services to that or those addresses have been shut off.
PG&E says the emphasis is more on the G than the E, confident that electricity will be restored quickly, but there's more concern with the 600 customers without gas, some of whom turned it off before being evacuated. Question is, when they return, would they know how to turn it back on safely?
We want to make sure that when they return home, they don't turn it back on themselves. We'll turn their gas back on for them, and we'll conduct safety inspections inside their home.
Power lines and destroyed poles still need to be repaired, and PG&E wouldn't commit to when the power will be restored to all of its customers. An update on this story. PG&E a few minutes ago just told me it now has 868 employees restoring power. Meanwhile, Reading Electric said it is confident only a handful of the 300 of its customers without power at the start of the day will have their customers' power back on by the end of the day. And evacuees who return may find a door hanger on their front step telling them that their power may not be working and giving instructions and phone numbers to call, to contact, if that's the case and if they have any questions. All right, back to you, Allison.
All right, thank you very much, Jerry. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching KRCR News Channel 7 at 5.
Remember your first bike? No.
Or
from Crest.
Gums are good. So is my checkup.
Crest, healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
Well, throughout this disaster, the community of Reading has really come together, helping those who have been evacuated or lost their homes. Multiple places have opened their doors. collecting donations. And today I was there as a large donation was brought into the stirring in Redding. Nathan and Crystal Peterson collected a truck full of donations in Los Angeles and drove all the way up here to Redding to drop off the items. The Petersons have family in Redding and are the owners of Sherman Square in downtown Redding. And once they heard about the devastation from the fire, they immediately started gathering items and loaded up their truck with sleeping bags, hygiene items, water, and many other items. The stirring, which is located on Churn Creek, is accepting donations for the next 3 days. Well, stories of escaping the Carr fire are starting to emerge.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Coming up, this horrifying experience as a woman and her child tried to escape, along with dozens of others in their cars from the fire tornado that ripped through West Redding. That's next on KRCR News Channel 7 at 5:30.
You're watching KRCR News Channel 7 at 5.
It takes two to dance,
She threatened me. That's not true. Okay, she was belligerent.
but it takes three to tango.
You all need to stop throwing the stones.
Hot Bench, the only court with 3 judges,
Get them out of my courtroom. Out.
3 opinions,
You are on the road to destruction.
3 personalities.
Oh, baloney.
Judges Acker, Corriero, and DeMay.
Courtesy Buick GMC of Chico. Huge inventory, professional staff.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
New footage just into our newsroom of the moments terrified families tried to outrun the flames that eventually turned into a fire tornado. We have their story tonight on KRCR News Channel 7 at 5:30.
You're watching KRCR News Channel 7 at 5:30. Get the facts right.
For the first time, we're hearing from a mother who escaped one of the fire tornadoes formed by the Carr fire. Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Allison Woods. This video is hard to watch as she cries for help watching the massive flames closing in on her and her little girl. KRCR News Channel 7's Courtney Kreiter reports.
Thursday night, evacuation orders came on strong. Local officials racing to keep up with a fire tornado, taking out streets and entire communities in Shasta County.
Unanticipated evacuations in Redding are causing traffic to back up in the Quartz Hill Road area. Prepare
that street's on fire.
And just get out if you can. The evacuation center.
One mother fleeing with her daughter in the back seat, getting caught in traffic with other evacuees while she watched the fire flurry advance from her rearview mirror.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. No. Please no. You're very brave, Cadence. You're a very brave girl, Cadence. Oh, Mommy's scared. Mommy's really scared.
Hot embers pelting the mother's car like hail from the sky as this massive vortex of flames grew, taking out everything in its path from neighborhood to neighborhood, something fire officials say they have never seen.
This fire is extremely dangerous and moving with no regard for what's in its path.
2 firefighters caught within the extreme fire behavior. Redding Fire Inspector Jeremy Stoke and 81-year-old Don Smith, who was a privately contracted dozer operator. The firefighting community, heartbroken, headed back to the fire line with no time to grieve.
As we mourn the loss, we also battle a fire that is moving extremely quickly and erratically into western Redding.
The Shasta County community sharing the devastation, thanking first responders in their own words. The mother in this video thanking her daughter's strong spirit.
What a good girl you are, Cadence. You're a good girl.
Reporting on the Carr fire, Courtney Kreiter.
And that is a very hard video to watch. It was a very, very scary night when that fire came through. This is a live look over Redding tonight from our Mercy Medical Center Scott Cam, where smoke just covers the area. Forecaster Jeff Andrews is in for Rob Elvington tonight with our forecast. Hey, Jeff.
Good evening, Allison. Yeah, pretty hazy conditions right now. Here's a look at the GOES 16 satellite view. Now, keep in mind, this is like 23,000 miles up, and it's picking up 3 separate heat signatures from the Carr fire. Same thing for the Mendocino fire. All right, I'm not I wouldn't be surprised if some of that is from fires they intentionally set up for the fire lines, to establish the fire lines, to defend the fires. Here's a look at our temperatures right now. You can see like areas like Weaverville, Hayfork got a little bit warmer today due to less cloud cover, more sunshine. Now for the valley, 101 for Redding, 100 Red Bluff, Corning 96, Chico at 95 degrees right now. We're looking at Storm Tracker. This is black and white. Gives us a better perspective of the clouds. Also the smoke plumes, you can actually pick some of them out. I'll point them out here. You can kind of see the ones that are on the Carr fire and also the Whaleback fire over this direction here too. The milky white that you're seeing, that's all smoke and haze right now. The clouds are moving from southwest to northeast. We have a red flag warning that's tomorrow from 2 to 11 p.m. That's mainly for Modoc County. Prime fire conditions, dry conditions, along with winds. Storm Tracker picking up mainly clear skies for us outside of the smoke and haze, but when you look towards the southeast here, you can see a lot of thunderstorm activity. That's monsoon moisture being pulled in as well. All right, back to you, Allison.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff. Well, crews are working hard on the northwestern portion of the fire. They're putting in containment lines to prevent the spread of the fire any further into Trinity County and the town of Lewiston. Tonight, there was a community meeting in Weaverville, which we carried live on our KRCR Facebook page. KRCR News Channel 7's Trevor Fay will have more about what was discussed coming up tonight at 6:30. Well, the Carr fire took hundreds of homes in its path, and many more still remain threatened. CAL FIRE says structures are threatened, and that say 1,236 structures are threatened, 884 homes, 4 commercial structures, and 348 outbuildings have been destroyed. 169 residences, 5 commercial structures, and 51 outbuildings have been damaged. Well, as some evacuation orders lifted, residents are returning to a new normal. Others have no choice but to wait, unsure if they even have a home to return to. Claudette Stefanian shows us a website that looks to help those residents.
As long as each of those processes take, that is how long it could be before they're allowed to return home.
Gabe Lauderdale of CAL FIRE says it's not that easy for locals to go back home.
I can only personally imagine the frustration that people are feeling.
But Lauderdale hopes
it's a tool. This is not definitive information.
That an interactive map they've recently launched will give residents a small picture on the state of their home.
So we can zoom in and pick any residence.
It's simple. Residents go to the website, type in their address, and are then directed to a single home or a cluster of houses. From there, people can access what category their home might fall into based off the damage they see.
If the criteria are greater than 50% of the home and contents were destroyed, then that's looked at as a destroyed structure.
Homes could also fall into the following categories: major, minor, or affected. Lauderdale says a major home is not salvageable, while a minor isn't exactly in the safe zone.
The caveat to that is that the damage inspection process isn't completed yet.
It could very well become damaged if another fire flares up. And when asked if keeping residents from checking on their homes was necessary,
We serve to gain nothing by keeping people out of their homes for a moment longer than absolutely necessary.
Lauderdale says all of the utilities have to be checked, but advises locals to not wait in other ways.
They should look at it as destroyed and start seeking through their channels.
This is Claudette Stefanian reporting.
Now, right now, thousands of people are anxiously awaiting the orders to re-enter their evacuated neighborhoods. Jeremy Harris shows us what many of those evacuees will return to. Jeremy.
Allison, all of those evacuees all have the same question on their minds: is what will it look like when they are allowed back in? Unfortunately for some, like this homeowner and several others on Kilkee Drive in the Mary Lake area, they will be returning to destroyed homes. Other homes were saved by mere feet. For some homes in Mary Lake, it looks like a normal day, but for their neighbors, it is complete destruction. This street was decimated by the fire. The doorway to this house was still standing, but the rest of the home was a pile of rubble. Utility crews are here trying to secure the gas and power lines to the neighborhood.
Hopefully they had a place to go, and I didn't, so I decided to stay.
Reginald Patillos lives a few blocks away.
We saw flames all over this area. A house across the street burned down.
He and a handful of other neighbors stayed as the fire bore down on their streets.
I didn't really have any place to go, no real close friends to go stay with, so I decided I might as well just stay here.
He says his home was too precious to leave, filled with memories, especially his late wife's 57 Ford. Most of the neighborhood remains under evacuation. Most homeowners here don't know what they'll come back to. The good news is the majority of the homes are safe, but some will come back to nothing.
It's awful, absolutely awful. You know, I don't know how people survive that sort of thing.
Now, as that evacuation order remains in place, we have seen Reading police as well as California Highway Patrol officers going through this area throughout the day. They are looking for anybody who may have breached the evacuation line and may be here in the neighborhood. We also spoke with some of those homeowners who, as you heard, did not want to leave. Others who didn't want to go on camera tell us they stayed behind because they were afraid of looters and they thought that they could defend their homes with hoses. And in some cases, a few of them told us that that actually worked. But certainly for right now, a lot of people in Mary Lake wondering what it will look like when they get back. We do understand that here, though, on Kilkee Drive is where it appears to have taken the worst of it. Allison, back to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Well, as residents return to their homes to see what's still standing, they aren't the only ones. Coming up, Reading city leaders went through the areas devastated by the fire to see it firsthand. Plus, officials going through the checklist, working 24/7 to get families back into their homes. And evacuees who return home may be without electricity or gas. We'll tell you what to expect coming up on KRCR News Channel 7 at 5:30.
You're watching KRCR News Channel 7 at 5:30.
Do you know which hospital U.S. News and World Report ranks in the top 10% of all 420 hospitals in California?
Did you know the same hospital ranked among the 100 best in America for critical care by health grades for 5 years in a row?
And for the last